Hello, Sam from Prosper. For those of you who don't know who Prosper are, we are the team behind Grad Australia, our jobs boards that many of you will hopefully be using to search for your graduate and intern jobs this year. Before we jump any further, I would like to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we all meet today, me here in Melbourne, and the Wurundjeri peoples. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. But yeah, without any further ado, I'd like to kick off today's event. It's the BHP live Q&A. We're hearing very shortly from some of the amazing team at BHP to talk a little bit more about their graduate and intern programs. In terms of questions, because this is of course a Q&A, we'd love to hear from you. If you can put your questions into the chat function or the Q&A function, either is fine. And if you could let me know, just say, hey Sam, I'm happy to read it out, or if you prefer me to read it for you. Because again, I know the BHP team would love to hear from you directly. We'll happy to take you off mute when I call on you, if so. Otherwise, just let us know in chat if you prefer for me to read it, because maybe you're in transit or the audio is not working and such. Happy to do so as well, but we kind of want to make this dialogue as much as possible. But enough from me. I'd like to throw to Marie to introduce both BHP and our speakers for today. Over to you, Marie.
Hi everyone, I'm Marie from BHP. I'm sorry, I'm at home today and someone has just started up with a lip sniffer behind me, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So I'm responsible for the recruitment of graduates and interns here at BHP right across Australia. It's a really busy role because BHP is very interested in bringing on a lot of talented grads and interns each and every year. Now, if you don't know who we are a global resource company and we have about 80,000 people with us around the globe. So we're a really big company. We're among the world's top producers of copper, nickel, iron and coal. And more recently, you might have heard us talking a little bit about our newest commodity, which is potash. That's a really exciting future here at BHP. So here in Australia, we have operations which are based here in Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia and WA. So we have a really large footprint here in Australia, our largest in the globe, which is really exciting. So today I'm really happy to be joined by three excellent panel members for you to ask some really great questions to. Firstly, I have Claudia, I have Ali and I have Heath. And what I might do is I might actually ask them to give a great introduction of who they are, what they're doing, and maybe a little quick bio so you can know who to direct some great questions to. So Claudia, can I start with you?
Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Marie. So my name is Claudia Lefort. I have studied mechanical engineering. I'm with BHP for a little bit more than 15 years. And my career across BHP has been from operational to functional roles. So I have started off my career in iron ore mining, and I spent a number of years 5 foot to some of our Pilbara sites. And then as a mechanical engineer in the plant, so got quite dirty along the way. And then I moved into in a project engineering role into building some of our big iron ore mine sites. And now I'm the head of engineering in the Maintenance and Engineering Center of Excellence. And I'm leading a global team located in Australia and in Chile. And we are setting global standards to how we're doing engineering across all of our mine sites in BHP. And as Marie said, that is iron ore, copper, coal, potash, nickel, so across all of our assets within the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I might throw it over to Ali. Now, Ali is also an ex-grad, so I think he'll have some great insights and stories to tell along the way.
Thanks for that. Hey everyone, so my name is Ali. Ali Honeyman, full name. I'm dialing in from the Pilbara region of WA, and I work in the iron ore asset for WAM. I'm a mining engineer, studied mining engineering and commerce at NWA as well, and was an ex-graduate. Been with BHP about 11 years, working in various roles in the mine planning and design environment of operated equipment. In the first year of my graduate program, I've worked as a drum blast engineer, mine planning short-term and long-term. And for about a while, I was part of a team that set the standards around how we operate respectfully and protect heritage sites as we operate in the Pilbara. Currently, I'm the superintendent of a department called production scheduling, effectively a short-term mine planning. We do all the mine plans and designs from a weekly space all the way to the 2-year horizon. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ali, and I'm sure that you've also seen some changes over the time that you've been here, a lot like Claudia has as well. Now I'll pass it over to our final panel member today, and this is Heath. Now, Heath is one of our current graduates. Heath, we'd love to hear more about you.
Thanks, Marie. Firstly, guys, super excited to be here with you all. I'm coming in from Adelaide today. I work at the South Australian asset being Olympic Dam. So a bit of background, I guess. I studied electrical engineering and maths and computer science at LA University. I did an internship with BHP at Olympic Dam over the 2020-2021 sort of summer break. Finished out university later that year, sort of worked 8 months in another role, just doing some sort of control system work. And then I started, I guess, out as a graduate early last year. So currently in my second year as a graduate here at BHP. I've been through an operational role, so obviously been out in the field with a tech sort of like a large chunk of last year. Currently sitting in sort of a more functional role. So I guess the team I'm currently in is asset integrity. So we sort of look at the long-term health of our equipment on site. And sort of I'm in sort of a 50-50 Adelaide-based and then site-based as well at the moment. And on top of that as well, I'm also sitting on the graduate committee for Olympic Dam this year. So yeah, love these sort of conversations. Love getting questions. So yeah, don't be shy. It's lovely to meet you all.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. That's a great intro to you all. Now, however, is time for where the audience can sort of jump into it as well for our Q&A, which you're all, I'm sure, are here for. As a reminder, if you could put your questions into either the chat or the Q&A, either's fine. Just let me know whether or not you'd like for me to read it out for you, or if you prefer to read it out yourself. If so, I'll invite you to speak and take yourself off mute. But yeah, just let me know so I can sort of coordinate that. Before we launch into the team questions, though, there is one from me, and it's an all answer. I'll be picking on you one by one who's going to go first as well. I might start with Heath as well, since you went last time. My question is, what's your number one tip for any student who might be considering a career at BHP or just within the mineral sector more broadly? And yeah, Heath, over to you first.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Number one tip. There's obviously a lot to take in. So I think for someone coming into the company, I think understanding that you're here to learn as much as you can, and yeah, just being super open to any sort of opportunities that come your way. Lots of listening. There is such a wealth of knowledge across all facets of the business at BHP. Sort of like Marie said, we are a very large company, so I think knowing when and how to leverage the people that you work with and get as much out of them as you can, probably the biggest tip. I guess in terms of coming into the business or getting into business, I guess it's just being authentic, being yourself. Putting your brand out there and making sure that sort of people see you for that. Probably the biggest tip.
Awesome. Thanks, Heath. Claudia, over to you next. Number one tip.
To be honest, I think Heath has actually summarized this really, really well. Mine would have been very much along the same lines, is around not, I guess, like asking lots of questions and not shying away from networking and building relationships within a company. But also, taking every opportunity you can get. I think particularly when you're coming as an intern or as a graduate, it's your opportunity really, to grasp as much information and as many people as possible, and, get as much exposure as you can across the, diverse nature a company like BHP can offer you. So that would be pretty much, my advice as well, to come in with an open mind and, really, take every day as a new day to, get the most exposure you can. That would be, when I sort of reflect back on my time, that would be probably the advice I would give my young self.
Perfect. Ali, what about yourself?
Claudia and Heath said exactly what I was going to say, which was be open-minded, be curious, and build connections. But what I will say is build yourself like a pyramid, and that is focus on, building technical expertise, focus on building professional expertise, and really have a strong foundation. And that comes through time in field, talking to people, asking lots of questions, and getting a lot of exposure. But yeah, always try to build yourself like a pyramid.
Lucky last, Marie. What about yourself? Any quick tips that you'd give? Any number one tips you'd give?
Well, this panel has already done an amazing job, and I had written down things, but that's already been covered. The only other one that I really want to share is be open to feedback. At BHP, you do receive a lot of feedback, so I think it's just that opportunity to take it on board, reflect, and then grow with that feedback. I think is also going to be really beneficial as you build those relationships, as you keep asking questions, and as you work on your pyramid. So that's the only other thing I would say, is be open to the feedback.
Fantastic. I might go firstly to our next question. To one by Julie, got in first. And it's for Claudia, Heath, and Ali. Can you tell us more about a typical day in your life at BHP? And Ali, I might pick on you first.
So a typical day in my life. So I guess I'll lead a team of 12 people, which is not a huge team, but our span of control is very wide because effectively from the day-to-day operations of the mine all the way to 5 to 10 years future of the mine, I have some level of involvement with stakeholders. So a large component of my day goes around empowering my team and actually making sure that any obstacles they face, any influencing connections they need with certain stakeholders, I'm there to help facilitate that for them. So that is a typical day. I'm in the meetings a lot, and those meetings are things that my team run, meetings with stakeholders about problem solving or identifying risk and then escalating that risk. So a lot of my day involves just around managing stakeholders and talking to stakeholders. I don't get to do technical work as much anymore. My team does that, and I'm kind of just there to monitor, facilitate, and empower them around that.
Awesome. Yeah. Heath, what about yourself? Typical day in life, especially as a grad.
Yeah. So I think there's two facets I can pick here, because there's my site sort of work and then the work I do in the office. Probably lean more towards the site time just because it's a little bit more interesting. Sort of when I head up onto site, I want to be making sure I'm sort of spending time with the customers, sort of like what Ali said. So I guess I get there at 6 a.m. in the morning, make sure I'm going to the execution team's pre-starts. So they're our customers, so making sure that I'm having conversations with them about any sort of work they need to do. And then I suppose throughout the day, probably the work I do is a little bit more technical because I'm sort of not in that management role. So I mean, today, for example, I'm going through electrical drawings, trying to understand sort of how the plant is set up so I can best evaluate the sort of risks associated with certain equipment and whatnot like that. So there's a little bit more technical side from probably as compared to Ali, but yeah, like I said as well, it's really for me, it's a lot of learning. So setting up sessions and having meetings with people who are who know more than I do about the plant is a large part of what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. Claudia, what about yourself?
Thanks, Sam. I probably will talk more to the week in the life of rather than the day in the life of, because I guess I would sort of split it in two as well, because one part is, a lot of engagement with my team and understanding, where some of their, struggles are in completing their work. So as a leader, my role is to empower my team and, remove some of the obstacles, they might be facing within the work they're doing. So there's a lot of engagement with my team and, working through some of those obstacles and understanding how I can support and empower them in performing their role. The other part, and that role can be very technical. So, I was thinking about what engineering is in BHP. That can either be project related or it can really be technical, like he said, around asset integrity and maintenance related activities as well. And then the other part of my role is also engaging a lot with our customers. And our customers are, or my customers are quite varied. But if I just pick one of my customers out, is the site engineering teams, and he's his team included in that. And again, really understanding where some of their pain points are, and then understanding what the opportunities are for my team to actually help the site teams to work through some of the pain points and the challenges they are facing. On a global scale, and very, high level spoken, but that's sort of where, majority of my time sits, is understanding the challenges and then working with my team and the site teams, my customers, to understand how we can actually support them in performing their roles.
Fantastic. Thanks, Claudia. Next question. I'm sure you're sick of hearing from me for a bit, so I'm going to throw to a couple of questions from grads who are happy to speak out. Starting with Martin. Martin, are you happy to take yourself off mute and ask your question?
Yep. Okay. So you might not be able to answer this question if you don't have experience with it. That's fine. I just want a real answer. But can you tell me the difference between BHP and other similar companies? Because I have no information on that subject. It'd be great to hear about that.
Who wants to kick us off?
Ali? Go first. Look, I can tell you why I stayed at BHP, and that might help answering the question. And for me, it's about culture and what the company chooses to do in a tough moment, and the values that the company tries to do convey, I guess. So for me, BHP really does go above and beyond to support its people, and does really see its people as one of its greatest resources, and actually does a lot in terms of making sure that people are enabled, people are psychologically safe and physically safe, and there are supports available for them. So I think that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is, there's no shying away. Mining is a detriment to environment. The process of mining does have an impact, but what the company chooses to do in terms of minimizing that impact is important. And I think BHP does a lot in terms of ensuring that traditional owners are heard. Their voices are come through. They're a big stakeholder. We engage with them correctly, and also, we heading into the future. We have issues with global warming. BHP is choosing to do something about its emissions. So I think for me, it's that piece that I choose to stay being employed here, so I can help contribute and problem solve for the next future, or a brighter future, or a better future.
Awesome. Claudia, do you have something to
I think Ali has summarized this really well, but probably the other bit which I would like to add, having been working for BHP and in the mining industry for 15 years, you see many people leaving the business, but the grass is not always green on the other side. And it's funny that, a lot of them are actually coming back to BHP. And I think, that is really where I just sort of see where what Ali has said, manifests itself. Like, that we have such a fantastic culture in BHP. The work we have put in over the past years, when we're talking about safety, when we're talking about diversity, when we're talking about, I guess the whole sexual harassment, sexual, abuse. We have made a stand, and we have made, a difference in the industry by the way BHP has navigated across challenging times. And I think, when everything is great, it's fantastic, and everyone is happy. But it's really, when we're going through challenging time, is how the business has reacted, and how we as employees within the business have been taken on the journey. And that's for me again, where my loyalty to the business comes in, to say it's a fantastic culture. And, we can see that, across what we're doing currently in BHP, but also what we're going to do, have got on our plans, our strategic plans, in the future.
Fantastic. I'm going to throw next to another question from Luna. Luna, are you happy? Take yourself off mute. Let me just...
Yep. Hi, do you guys hear me? Awesome. So I have two questions. One is about visa, and one is about the graduate program. So for the graduate program, I saw we are able to join or rotate 2 to 4 teams over 24 months. And so what kind of discipline can I join? And does it matter what degree I study, or am I able to set preference for it? And for the visa question, I'm currently an international student at ANU. After that, I'm thinking to get the permanent residency in Australia, but before then, will BHP possibly sponsor my visa?
Marie, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, I will take the question for you. So being an international student, we would love to see your application, and then what support is required from there. We will guide you through that process. So please apply. And then I think your other questions were really around your degree. For some of our disciplines, we do require certain degrees, such as mining is usually mining, or civil engineering. Mechanical is usually mechanical or mechatronics. So we do have some of our disciplines quite specific degrees that we're after. But what's your degree? I think that's probably what will be of interest here. About what are you looking for?
So I do mechanical major with sustainability minor.
There you go. You have a fantastic person on this call to ask any hard-hitting mechanical questions. With Claudia, you're very lucky today. So absolutely, with discipline like that, you would fit really well within the mechanical streams or within project streams as well. So I think that we're definitely looking for mechanical engineers, and we will always look for mechanical engineers within BHP. And then I think your last question was really around rotations. Each asset, so when I refer to the word asset, so for the West we have iron ore and we have nickel west, they would be referred to as assets. So each asset will have certain requirements from a rotational point of view. An asset like Olympic Dam, I think, rotates 4 times. BMA rotates 2, and in iron ore, I think it's, Ali, you might have to help me out here. I think it's 2 to 3, depending on the department that you're working in. And nickel, I think at this stage is 2. Sometimes with some disciplines, if you're like underground, if we were to do an underground mining engineer role, you'll probably do one or two more rotations, which is why we have lengthy ones with an Olympic band. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for asking.
Fantastic. I think that might have hopefully helped a few people who had questions about degrees and requirements and things like that. I might ask, going next to Guy's question, which I'll read out, which was, how has BHP set itself up for engineering post the wind-up of the services division? And is there cross-organizational broader engineering innovation or innovations and communications? Does anyone want to put their hand up to answer that one? Who should I pick on? Claudia, do you want to, anything from your end?
Sorry, I've just had a look at the question. When we talk about the services division, sorry, I'm probably unclear of exactly what we're talking about there, Marie. Have you got an answer? You seem to be not jumping in there.
Claudia, I'm happy to add. I'm dating myself back to the time the transition through Prescott, Mickey, and Kloppers, and under that was the era of Graham McGregor, and the bringing together, and then the dissolution of the engineering division because of the traditional, let us say, tribal items. You've touched on a few points. I had a second nasty question to ask design engineers and operational engineers communicating and planning within and across divisions. But I'm really looking at the overarching picture. You've got similar things. It doesn't matter whether you're Royal Dutch or Woodside, etc. There's those items for communications, etc.
Yeah, so I guess I answer probably the question differently. So in engineering in BHP is a critical enabler for the way we are doing, we are doing our operations. So when we're talking, we can talk always about, the big ones, we're talking about mining, we're talking about maintenance, but engineering is a critical part, the end-to-end supply chain within the business. So whilst we are not providing design engineering any longer, and when we think about the Hedge, which used to be an engineering service provider, engineering at the port, we had an engineering arm who did a lot of the design engineering, etc. We don't do that any longer, but we're still project managing, a lot of big projects within BHP. So whilst we're not doing certain things any longer, we still require the technical disciplines to support and to provide input into a lot of the work that we have outsourced over the probably the last 10, 15, 20 years. So, we require the skills and the capabilities still, but we require them more from an owner's perspective, which is more the oversight and providing the knowledge and the inputs on how we're operating, maintaining our site, rather than actually doing, the design engineering part, as we have done it probably, as I said, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So our focus has slightly shifted because we are not an engineering design house. We are an operator and maintainer. But with that being said, we still require some of that knowledge and expertise within BHP. Did that answer your question, Guy?
That's good. The other query, I guess, would be, and that's fine for the 40-year life cycle of a mine or major plant, but what about some of the emerging and newer technology? Yeah, I know, Port Kembla was sold off, but, whether it be green steel or any of the other items, I see what Royal Dutch is doing. How is BHP placing itself for that innovation and next stage versus, build, maintain, run, operate?
Yeah, we certainly have specific teams who are looking into sort of the more strategic pathway for BHP when we're talking about, electrification, decarbonization, and all of that. So we have got an arm that is specifically focusing on, on that strategic environmental element on how we're actually operating, maintaining our plants going forward. And there's a lot of work that is happening, particularly around the mining or mobile space. When we're thinking around the electrification of our trucks, as an example. So we are partnering with a lot of our vendors like CAT and Kometsu, etc., to understand what the opportunities are for us going forward. And we actually are part of the, almost the research within those areas.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Claudia. I'm going to throw next question. I'm going to ask, and apologies in advance if I mispronounce anyone's names. I'm a shocker with pronunciation. But I'm going to ask Rain's question, which was, I was wondering if having previous qualifications is a disadvantage for applying for the graduate program, or does it not make a difference? And Marie, I can see also Ali shaking his head.
Doesn't make a difference.
Any particular requirements they should be aware of as well? Is it, have a degree within have finished a new degree within a certain number of years, or?
Yeah, correct. We are after people who will be eligible for their graduation by the end of this year or have graduated in 2022 or 2021. So if you have graduated in recent years, we'd still love to see your application.
But if they've done a previous one and then read another one, that's fine. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. I might throw next to Angela. We had a question. We might end up sticking with you, Marie, because it's a question about video assessment. So, Angela, have you take yourself off mute?
Hello. Hi. So just a quick one in terms of the assessment process. So I've just applied and I'm on the stage of video assessment and just wanting to know what exactly you're looking for through these types of assessment. And just a quick one back to Marie. When you're talking about the opportunity for rotation, does that mean rotating to different mine sites? Because my background is geotechnical engineering, so the opportunity to experience different ore body is something I'm looking forward to. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, firstly, geotechnical, wow, thank you. Please apply. We'd love to hear your application. We'd love to learn more about you. What are we looking for in the video interview? I probably think that my tips are to start off with, make sure you do the practice one, so you're feeling really comfortable with the questions that are being asked. I think from there, we're looking from a response with STAR, so, situation, task, action, what was your outcome? So I'd probably just think about how you're answering it rather than exactly what we're looking for in that. I think that regardless, wherever we've spoken about a little bit already, relationships are really important to us. So where you can focus on relationships as well. But don't overplay your relationships as a we, because we still need to know what you have done when you're answering the question as well. So great to be a part of a team, and that's fantastic, but we still need to understand what your role was within the team. So what we'll be looking for is really, I think, for you just to be yourself a little bit too, because if it's not really who you are, it's not authentic, usually that shows throughout the process. Does that help answer your questions? Oh, your other question was around rotating into different areas. You will likely to rotate to different mine sites, but again, it's depending on what your asset is. For someone like Olympic Dam is one site. Different opportunities within the West and also in Queensland where there's more, and also New South Wales. There's no one in New South Wales, but in Queensland and WA, you'll have more opportunity to rotate through different mine sites.
Thank you.
That help answer your question? Yeah, great.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much.
just one thing to add as well, just with video interviews, always be also mindful of the setting where you're doing the interview as well. Neutral background, clear, like a quiet area, least amount of distractions for yourself as possible.
Awesome. Thanks, Ali. I'm going to ask a question on behalf of Alison, which was, could you please let us know how many graduates you plan to take on this year? And specifically for the Adelaide office, but we might start with just broadly first. Marie, is that one for you?
So this year we'll take on 195 graduates, 174 interns, and now you're going to stretch my memory with opportunities in South Australia. I think for graduates within Olympic Dam, I think there is close to 30. And I think it's probably similar numbers or a wee bit less for our interns. So, sorry, I can't remember the precise details for Olympic Dam, but our numbers overall for this year is 195 for our graduate intake right across Australia.
Marie, you were right. They're both sitting around the 30. Just above and just below.
Sorry, lots of numbers with what makes up that 195. So I was thinking, I think that's about right. So thank you so much for the help there. Appreciate it.
There was also, while we're on topic of numbers, there was a question just confirming there's no roles in Melbourne this year. Is that right, Marie?
No, unfortunately, no. With Melbourne being our head office, we very rarely do we have graduate intern roles. Most of our roles are really operational based, but we do have roles within technology and finance, portfolio strategy and development, which is an exciting opportunity for a grad. Let me tell you, it's the first time in my living memory of those roles being offered for TSNG, but they will be based in either Brisbane, Adelaide or Perth. Unfortunately, no, not this year.
A question from Salimian, which was in regards to mechatronics engineer positions. I don't know if we can answer this one. Question is, what sort of projects would I be working on if successful? You want to take a stab at that? Not necessarily for mechatronics, you could open up to just cool projects in general. Claudia, see you off mute.
I think Ali is probably better located, seeing that he is on site. But I just probably wanted to say that the variety of our projects is significant, and you have got a humongous portfolio that goes from smaller to medium to large scale projects. And mechatronics is certainly one of those disciplines that is getting more and more traction when we're looking at all of the automation that is coming within our business. So that could be either when we're talking about fixed plant and the robotic space almost, or when we're talking about our mobile fleet. So I can't speak to any specific projects, but and Ali will probably be able to dive into that a little bit deeper. But there's certainly plenty of exciting stuff that is happening within the business where a mechatronics engineer, can get their hands dirty.
Yeah, and sorry, I also don't have any specifics, but my brother is a mechatronics engineer. He's 5 years older, not a BHP graduate, different companies and different career path. However, he was working on iron ore mines operation, and it was a lot of control systems. We have a lot of control systems on our mine sites, in our plant, in all the mine sites, and a fair bit of automation, and mechatronics are very well positioned, having both the mechanical, the electronics, the electrical side, and the automation side to help with that. That's in sustaining day-to-day operations. But yeah, there'll be heaps of opportunities, I'm sure. Sorry, I just don't have the specifics.
I might just add to that as well. As just speaking to OD specifically, Olympic Dam specifically, my asset, we actually have, we had a new robotic sort of, I haven't actually seen it, I haven't worked on it either, but we had a sort of a pretty big buzz when it sort of came in around here last few years. We have a machine in our refinery that's got robotic arms that they use to sort of deal with the copper plates that come out of our process. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting space at OD for mechatronic engineering, and it goes back to what Ali said as well. Lots of control systems, PLCs, and our sort of structure, the way we structure mechatronic disciplines coming through the grad program, the rotations are actually a little bit different to what they normally would. We deliberately get you guys into the more sort of control system spaces because that's where you guys are skilled at.
Awesome, thanks all. Up next, I might ask a question from Yingyi, which was, as a recent IT graduate, I've done some units in software engineering. I'd like to know how BHP supports women in tech or women in engineering. Who wants to take that one? So you take yourself off mute, Claudia. So
on and off and off and on. Sorry, struggling with the technology here, talking about it. But yeah, listen, there's plenty of opportunities in in our technology department for software engineers. As we all know, we discussed this before. There is the way the industry is going and the way, I guess, like mining is going. We have more and more I guess technology enabled infrastructure out there, and I guess like from a how we're supporting women in technology, we are certainly looking at how we can actually bring a more gender balance into our business and understand and I guess like cultivating the diversity of thinking and diversity of the different aspects and perspectives that are coming in through a more gender balanced workforce. So I reckon if you have got that background, please apply. We have got lots of technology projects where we need software engineers coming up, and we can certainly use that skill within a wide breadth across our business as well.
anyone want to add anything more, Marie, on support for women engineering, women in tech, potentially?
One thing I'll add, the BHP is really focused on building an inclusive workplace, and through that focus on inclusivity, I guess the support that I mentioned earlier is identify people. That in itself helps a lot in terms of supporting the underrepresented groups in our business.
Yeah, I'll just go in and testify exactly that. Like, it gets thrown around a lot, but I've only been at BHP for a year, and it is a huge focus, cultural diversity. Yeah, can't stress that more.
Fantastic. I might, just building off the fact we've just been talking about technology and technology roles, there's been a few who have asked about those positions as well. So just want to ask Chris's question, which is, are there any examples of software related roles or projects that anyone can talk to at all at BHP?
Yeah, I'll talk through a couple of softwares that it was built by the technology team for the day-to-day use of the people in operations. We have, for example, dashboards built where we can see where any equipment is in the mine. For example, for blast hole drilling, exactly what hole has been drilled. If it has been loaded with explosives, it predicts the penetration rate and forward predicts when the job will be completed. There are for example, tools that has been built that allows us to do day-to-day schedules. We know where all the equipments are. It updates a 3D model of the mine automatically. Those are just a couple of small ones I know. There are lots of dashboards through Power BI and Spotfire that's being built around data analysis, data presentation of data, because we have a lot of data at BHP. Those are just a couple of small examples that I know of. I'm sure there's more out there.
And I can sort of speak probably to how technology is actually enabling us across the business. In terms of like what we are doing from my team, so we are actually building some applications that are really far-reaching into across the globe into all assets, and how we actually maintaining our critical equipment. So we have got a application currently that is being designed and built, which will actually help us to manage the defects which we have got across the business and identify what we need to be focusing on first to maintain the performance of our critical equipment. And when we talk about critical equipment, it's equipment which really does a dent in BHP. So it's around, creating visibility and actually having a robust pathway to manage that equipment. And when we talk about enterprise systems, those enterprise systems, they're actually linking into other systems. So it's a very exciting piece, and it's actually, really critical for us as BHP to do that right, and really thinking about how we can become more efficient and can utilize the knowledge that comes, from people, and I'm in this case particular engineers, and use that expertise and that knowledge in the field rather than using individuals for data entry, as an example. So technology is really enabling us to think differently of how we have done traditional tasks in the past, and ensuring that we're linking a lot of systems and applications together to get end-to-end solutions. And that is super exciting because we can really think differently across the business on how we're going about our work in the future.
Fantastic. Thanks, Florinelli. I've noticed there's a couple of questions about particular degrees, so I might fire this all off in one quick go. Maria, I might sort of draw on you a little bit here for this part. Firstly, obviously there's a lot of roles, not just for engineers at BHP. Is that would be correct? Yep, this is nod there. Including business analytics, environmental, health and safety, which you say all those areas you have for BHP.
Absolutely. Probably about overall, I'd probably say about 70% of our roles, maybe a little bit higher, fit within the world of engineering, and also probably the geoscience community, but we absolutely have roles within, technology, finance, HSE, as I said, PS&D. So there are a number of functional roles, and again, probably for me, probably the highest intake we're starting to see within those non-engineering roles from a number of years ago.
Fantastic. I'll stick with you for a little bit. I've got another question about eligibility more broadly, just entry pathways. Guy and a couple of others have asked, does BHP have a path for those who have undertaken either a master's or a PhD? Is the graduate program suitable, or is this another way potentially into the organisation?
I think that's a really fantastic question around especially the PhD path. We have had people on the grad program before who have had PhDs. Unfortunately, we don't have a PhD specific graduate program though. So we don't have a pathway to just the PhD students.
If they're comfortable, they could still apply though by that right, Marie?
Yeah, as I said, we have had PhD students go through our program before.
Fantastic. It's probably a good one for everyone, particularly those with the least screened an applicant at some point. We had questions. What things do you find repetitive or negative within cover letters? Maria, I've still got you up, so I might start with you and then can jump in potentially.
Sure. I think, and I'm sure you've all heard it before, negative to me is always spelling. Just please ask somebody to read your cover letter or ask them to read your resume. really check for those fine details around is your number correct, is your email correct. Just to make sure your details are correct is really important, but really watch out your spelling. And especially if you're saying a strength is attention to detail, making sure you have the attention to detail correct is really important. But yeah, please double check it. Okay, fine.
Claudia, anything to add?
Yeah, probably to add to what Marie said is, just think this is the first introduction of yourself, the first time, we hear from you. So, I absolutely agree, that, it's worthwhile spending time on that cover letter, but also throughout the resume, because, it's your first representation in, I guess, with HR, but then also with the hiring manager. The other one I probably would also like to say then is that, be sharp and concise. I guess think about what would be important as a first instance to read by the hiring manager and tailor it to suit the application. So don't go broad brush and have one for the 20 applications you are shooting out. Make sure that you're really thinking about the role you're applying for and what would be interesting for the hiring manager to know how you actually fit that specific role. So that would be probably the other thing I would like to add to that.
Fantastic. Martin, I believe you had a question for BHP. Let me just throw to you.
Yeah, so this is about the grad program itself. Success is quite a hard thing to measure. So how do you evaluate the grad program itself? And do you have external audits to evaluate it so you avoid the trap of, patting each other on the back saying we're all fantastic?
Who wants to take that one? Right?
Yes, I think I will take that one. That would be great. Really good question. I think that's really important. So, like any organisation, you can become really insecure. So I think understanding how you're seeing the market and how your graduates see you as well is really important. So keep an eye on that. We do participate in a number of external surveys each year to really understand what our grads think and also how the market sees us as well. We really take that information seriously. Sam, if you don't mind, I might just digress really quickly here because we do participate within Forbes' Top 100 and we're really proud that this year we've won the #1 graduate employer within mining, oil and gas and energy. So we're really proud of that, but we also don't just take it as a given. We recognise that you've got to keep working on the experience, but we really see it as a huge team effort from everyone on this, the call, especially Ali and I have dealt with each other a lot in regards to graduates. So Ali, you know a lot about this, that every person who has an interaction with our graduate, every supervisor, every superintendent, there is a lot of people that really go to making the program hopefully a success for our graduates to get the best out of it.
And probably to add to that, and not necessarily around the verification or of success of the program, but I spoke just recently to one lady who was also interested in applying for the internship, and she asked me what do actually interns and graduates do in BHP? Because I sort of reflect back on when I did an internship, it was really around making coffee and standing at a copy machine. Our graduate programs and internship programs, as a matter of fact, you really get involved and you're really a part of the team. And I think this is really important because you want to spend the time and you want to learn. And so, you're part of a team and, you're part of a project, or you really get to do some really value adding work, which are appreciated in the business. And one of the reflections of one of the ladies I spoke the other day who died into this conversation, who came from an intern and went into a graduate program. And there is actually, as part, I think, of the graduate program, a project, and that project is a real project within BHP. And and then later, if successful, will actually be implemented in the business. So it is you're really part of the BHP family, and I think that is fantastic, and it's time well spent as well.
And I'll just add one more thing to that. There's a lot of feedback loops at BHP. We love feedback, and I think what I like to see, what I think is really great, is that we have graduates, actually a team of graduates get together the second year, and we form a committee, and we're responsible for assisting with the continuous improvement of these programs. So you're getting that first-hand experience of people who just come through the program. And I encourage everyone who comes, if you make your way through the grad program, definitely set your sights on getting involved with the committees that we have. You can really make a difference in those sort of roles. You learn a lot yourself as well. So yeah, it's something that's really, really prevalent at BHP.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Now, conscious of time, I've got about 2 minutes left of our allotted time. I have spoken to the team previously, and at least Marie and I will be staying on for a little bit longer just in case any last couple of questions. So if you haven't had your question asked so far, you still want to hear about it, just put it back into the chat for me just so I can, that's an easy. You'll also just drop the reviews in there too. But yeah, last couple of minutes, make sure you get the last few questions in that haven't already been posted. While we do that, I do see there is one here in regards to projects for industrial IoT. Well, Industry 4.0. Has anyone got any insight on whether or not we've got any projects in that space that can be talked to? Or good if not.
I personally don't see it. Again, I'm not in the technology team, so and I haven't had experience through that. But I know that BHP are definitely interested in it. We actually went out to it kind of escape me, but it was a manufacturer of IoT. They used to be Clipsal and now elsewhere. But we went out there and we had a look at some of their things as a part of the graduate program. So it's interesting. It's a space we're interested in. But yeah, I am personally had an experience. So.
All good. Well, in that case, if I can't see any more questions coming through, so in that case, I might ask one last question of everyone. Yeah, so that's all answered. So who might have gone first? Maybe Heath, you just went. My question is for everyone. We've had a lot of great things about working at BHP today, but what's the main reason you think grads should apply for a role at BHP this year? Heath, you're up first.
Yes, this may be repeated. I'm probably going to steal someone's answer here, but it's hands down to people. I said it at the start as well. It's not just the professional development that you get from the leaders and sort of the cultural development that you get from the leaders here at BHP, but it's also the peers that you make, the friends that you make. Just the people in general are hands down the best thing about working here. And I've only been here for a year, so and I still see people around the office that I don't even know their names yet. So there's still plenty more people for you to meet, plenty more experiences to have, and I couldn't be happier than be at BHP, and I really encourage everyone to apply.
Well, following that up would be tough. Claudia, I might throw to you.
Sorry, I just dropped out. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. Working again then. Aside, I guess, not to repeat what he said, I do think the other reason, I guess, to work for BHP or join BHP as a graduate, but then continue thereafter, is really the opportunities. BHP is a big company, and it doesn't really matter if you're in engineering, if you are in HR, if you are in technology, like, the pathways you can take are just so broad and wide and diverse. Like, you can go into marketing, you can go into commercial. It is really fantastic. Where your career can lead you, and the development, BHP or the business is investing in you along the way. So, that's one of the reasons why I'm still at BHP. Aside from the people and the family I've created here, it's the fantastic opportunities which really don't cease to exist.
Awesome. Ali, what about yourself? Number one reason.
Look, I'm going to get a bit philosophical with my answer. And what I will talk about is why not just join BHP, but the resource industry as a whole. Our generation and the generations to come, we're going to have lots of challenges, and resources are needed to solve for these challenges. It's not possible to tackle these challenges without extracting more resources. It's the unfortunate fact. But what we need is future problem solvers, and you guys and everyone else, so you folks and whoever else is dialed in, and the future generation, to actually be able to do this, to tackle those future challenges, but do it with a lower emission, with a less footprint on the environment. I genuinely believe that. That's why I'm in the resource industry. That's why I'm with BHP, because BHP is a company that cares about that and tries to do the right thing. But as a whole, we really need to get more people in the resource industry to tackle the future problems, because the biggest asset we have is our people and the brain power, combined brain power.
Awesome. Marie, lucky last.
Great point by everyone. I think the other reason is to join BHP is I've been with BHP for 12 years, and in that time I've just seen tremendous change. And if you want to be a part of an organization that is willing to listen to new ideas and to look to the future, and if you want to be a part of that, I would say just apply and then ask the questions and see where it can all take you.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully those answers convinced you all. I definitely took a lot out of it. I know that's for sure. But with that, I think we'll call it there, everyone. Thanks so much to all of you for your great questions. For those of you who took yourself off mute, and those of you who got me to read as well, I mean, all of them were fantastic. So great work there. To our fantastic panelists here from BHP, thank you so much for your time. To your busy schedules, I'm sure everyone here took a lot out of it. But I think with that, we'll call it there. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you at the next one.